Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2021-22 season. My name is Dan and today we are doing a Gameweek 23 buy, sell, keep, avoid video. First of all, I should apologise if things look or sound a little bit different today. We're redecorating the office, the studio where I usually record videos. Hopefully it's going to look really sick within the next couple of weeks, but for now I am stuck in a different room, so things might be a little bit different, but hopefully the video will still be pretty good, I hope. The research is all still there, the content is all still there, don't worry about that. But yeah, if you do enjoy this video, please do leave a like, please do subscribe if you're new around here. But without further ado, let's have a look at the buy, sell, keep, avoid rules. So buys are players you probably don't have but you consider bringing in, sells are players you probably have but you consider removing, keeps are players you probably have and you should actually keep these players, and avoids are players that are pretty hyped up right now. I actually don't think they are worth everything that a lot of people are hyping them up to be, and therefore you should avoid them. So there we go, those are the types of players. Would again go on about don't make early transfers, but I'm sure you're bored of hearing that by now, so let's just get on with this, guys. Let's have a look at our buys first of all. So our first buy is Philippe Coutinho. What a debut, a goal and a phantom assist. You can see that he kind of changed the game against Manchester United when he came on. Villa kind of bought him for a reason, and I think it's pretty clear to see why. A new creative attacking hub of the team. And the early signs are very good. I think Coutinho is going to be a very, very popular FPL asset in weeks to come. And I think he's going to be one of those situations where those willing to take the early plunge will be the biggest winners. You can wait until he's scored a couple of decent scores before buying him, or you can get those decent scores for yourself right away by taking a bit of a risk. Now, the fixtures for Villa are phenomenal. Everton, who are managerless and just lost to Norwich, Leeds, Newcastle and Watford, so some of the worst defences in the league. So getting a Villa attacker might actually be crucial for this run of games. In addition to this, Villa could also get a double game week this week since they are not in the FA Cup anymore. They could play either Leeds or Burnley in addition to Everton in Game Week 23. This would make the next run of fixtures pretty unbelievable for Villa, basically making their players absolute must-have. So if you want to think about some other players as well, we can maybe think about Jacob Ramsey, who's kind of a cheap alternative. I don't think he'll produce the same returns as Coutinho, but he could help cover it a little bit. And then we have players like Watkins for a forward, Coutinho, if you like a nice defensive option there. He should chip in with some attacking returns as well. One thing to mention there is there's no need to rush Coutinho in. I know a lot of you guys are probably very excited about Coutinho, but his price is actually locked at 7 million because he's a new player in the league. His price is locked at 7 million, and that's not going to go up or down until after this week's deadline. So don't worry about price changes. Don't worry about rushing Coutinho in. You can leave this as late as possible. His price ain't going to change between now and Friday. Our next buy is Kevin De Bruyne. The next few games look really good for City attackers, and when City go out and smash a team 5-0, which they do, a few times per season, right? We know that this can be revolutionary to our FPL seasons, but as always, you've got to be in it to win it, and to me, it looks like the best way to be in it is to go for KDB. Now, ordinarily, I think I'd probably say Sterling, since he's kind of been City's best player recently, but KDB is a little bit more nailed on. He's playing in a really nice position at the moment. He's taken a decent amount of shots, and as always, he's making some nice passes as well. And he has that quality, I guess, where he can pop up with a banging goal like we saw against Chelsea, or an insane through ball, or something just like that out of nowhere and completely change the game. He's one of those out of nowhere players. He has that out of nowhere ability where he's just one of those things that you get when you pick a world-class player, and that's exactly what KDB is. So although perhaps he's lacking those big chances, I don't think that matters too much. He's still taking a lot of shots, making a lot of passes, and a team like City will make those count, especially when you're facing some of the worst defences in the league. Southampton next, and then Brentford and Norwich, who have both been on the wrong ends of some batterings recently. The incredible form that City are in. I'm not sure just having Cancelo is going to be good enough in the immediate term, and particularly if you're looking for some premium captain options for Game Week 24 and Game Week 25 in particular, and want a nice placeholder as well to bring Salah back around Game Week 26, yeah, KDB just looks like a good pick. Our first sell is Mason Mount. What a surprise it was to see him benched against City. But that's not the reason why he's on the sell list. Honestly, I feel like all Chelsea players should be on the sell list right now. But attackers like Mount should be the first on the chopping block, because the next game is against the improved defence of Spurs. So even if you think Chelsea are going to win, it's not like they're going to score a hatful. after that, the fixtures are basically non-existent, aren't they? No fixture in Game Week 24 or 25, an away game to Palace in 26, and then another blank in Game Week 27. So Chelsea, due to involvements in other competitions, are going to have a lot of missing game weeks in the near future. So of the next 5 game weeks, Chelsea play literally just twice. So although technically you could wait until next game week before you're moving your Chelsea players on, if you do have other players that you're eyeing up this game week, Chelsea players look like the really obvious players to sacrifice 1 week early. Now Mount is a really nice direct move to Coutinho, for example. Lukaku can go to a Ronaldo or a Watkins maybe. Reece James or Marcus Alonso are a nice switch to maybe Luka Dean. Yeah, lots of options, whatever Chelsea players you have, but certainly if you are a Mount owner, he seems like the most obvious Chelsea player to move on now rather than later. Bernardo Silva is on this sell list again. I can't believe I'm putting him on this list again. I can't believe it. But I promise you guys, after this one, I'm going to ban myself from talking about Bernardo on this channel for a little while, okay? But the reason I have included him in this video again is because on the stream yesterday and kind of on Twitter as well, I saw quite a few people actually talking about keeping him and advocating for keeping Bernardo. Their logic was that you kind of have a nailed-on City attacker for an excellent run of fixtures, which is true. And I guess I wanted to use that Bernardo situation as a bit of an allegory, really, because I don't really feel like this theory holds up in this situation. Obviously, it's really important to get those nailed players for good runs of fixtures, but they have to also be the right players. It can't just be any old player, and particularly for attackers, they really do have to be the right players. So just because a player is nailed and they have good fixtures does not mean that they will return good FPL points. Someone in my stream chat yesterday kind of suggested Sissoko as an example of this, nailed Watford midfielder that some people bought in for Watford's good fixtures, but because Sissoko doesn't shoot very often, he doesn't make many final passes, it's kind of irrelevant how many goals Watford score, how much they win by, if they do win, because you know, it's irrelevant because this is not a player who's going to be involved in those goals. Watford could score 5 goals, and it's very unlikely that Sissoko would be involved in any of those goals. So it's kind of irrelevant, even though it's seemingly a decent player in a decent run of fixtures. It doesn't really matter because he's not the right player for the job. So, yeah, a lot of people went for that, and you'll kind of find the players with awful fixtures will outperform at these kinds of players because the player with the bad fixtures is perhaps a player who is crucial to the direct attacking moves, the final attacking moves for their team. But Bernardo is not crucial to the direct attacking moves for City. He doesn't take many shots anymore, just 3 shots in 5 starts. His final passing isn't even that good, just 8 key passes. For the money that Bernardo costs, this is not good enough, and it doesn't really matter how good the fixture is. Bernardo won't be one of those people getting all of the attacking returns. KDB will, Sterling will, Foden will, Grealish perhaps will as well. The players directly involved in FPL returning actions. So you can kind of say, I don't want to sell Bernardo ahead of these great fixtures, but then when he returns 2 or 3 points per game, you kind of wish you had someone else, even if it's someone with a slightly worse run of fixtures. Particularly with attackers, attacking form is more important than the fixture itself, and I'll be talking a little bit more about this or the other side of this, I guess, in one of my picks for the avoid section, so bear with me and we'll talk a little bit more about that. On to some keeps. We've got Cristiano Ronaldo first. Now, a lot of people will be feeling a little bit disappointed about Ronaldo missing the game against Villa. I totally get it. Absolutely gutting, right, guys? But that shouldn't be used as a reason to sell. Currently, Ronaldo is one of the most sold players this game week, but I want to give some encouragement that the future is looking very bright. So firstly, Ronaldo is back in full training, so I definitely expect him to be back for game week 23, unless we hear specifically otherwise, of course. Secondly, when he does play, he dominates for attacking stats among Manchester United players. Nobody else comes close when he's on the pitch for shots in the box, big chances, XG. It works out that anytime there's a United goal, over 50% of the time, Ronaldo will be involved, both on expected returns and in actual returns as well. So if United were to score twice, you know Ronaldo has probably scored one of those 2 goals. If United score 3 or 4, you kind of feel like Ronaldo must be hauling in a game where United score a fair few goals. And that's just kind of tantamount to you know how important he is to the attack there. So compare that to Bruno, for example, who's expected to be involved in around 31% of goals when he's on the pitch, and a lot of those returns are expected to be assists as well. You know, you can kind of see that Ronaldo, it looks a lot better in that regard. It looks more likely to get more FPL points, I guess. So When we look at these great upcoming fixtures for United, West Ham, which is actually a good fixture for an attacker, by the way, Burnley, Southampton, Leeds, and then Watford. It's a really nice run to own a Ronaldo. You can easily captain him in some of those games too. So, like I say, there's a lot to be positive about. There's no need to knee-jerk him out. Don't get frustrated too easily or too early. We thought Ronaldo's time was game week 22. It wasn't to be, but that doesn't mean that he can't be a great FPL asset going forward. Our next keep is Ruben Dias. Now, Dias is one of the most sold players this game week, and a player who I would really encourage you to kind of keep. And it's literally the exact situation as the last time I included Dias as a keep, because that was game week 12, I think, because obviously this time he missed one game. He's missed one game against Chelsea in game week 22. People are panic selling him. The same thing happened when he was rested in game week 12. Loads of people sold him because they thought this was the beginning of the end. Dias was never going to be in that City team ever again. And, you know exactly what happened after game week 12. He went on to start the following 9 games in a row. And this is kind of just what happens at City. Even the most nailed on players will very occasionally miss a game. But the situation always is that if a player misses one game, that actually increases their likeliness to play in the following game weeks. And I think that's the kind of logic that a lot of people struggle to get to grips with, and it's just the way it works. A rest is given to a player to facilitate them being able to play lots of games in a row after that. So when a player is rested, it usually means they're about to play more football, not less football. So yes, Dias will be rested once every 10 games. So will Laporta, KDB, Cancelo, Mason Mount, to use a Chelsea example. Any of those players who are seemingly nailed on in a rotation risk team will very occasionally be rotated, but you can't let that factor into your decision-making process negatively, I guess. In fact, this is definitely not a time to sell Dias. It's arguably a time to buy Dias, because we can pretty much guarantee that he's going to start the next 7, 8, 9 Premier League games. And if you look at the upcoming fixtures, man, you'd be absolutely crazy to sell him ahead of these. So definitely keep Dias. Finally, some avoids. We're going to start you off with Conor Coady. Now, maybe I'm being a little bit biased, a little bit harsh on Conor Coady here, because what I really mean to say here is Wolves defenders. Coady is the most transferred in of the Wolves defence, but I know a lot of people are kind of talking about Nori, for example, but this is where the reverse is true from where I was kind of talking about Bernardo. With attackers, attacking form is really, really important, but with clean sheets, it's a little bit more difficult. There's not really so much of it. There is a thing as defensive form and clean sheet form, but it doesn't translate as well as goal scoring form. So just because a player or a team has kept clean sheets, that doesn't mean they will continue to do so even in periods of difficult fixtures. So, the same way as, a good goal scorer will score against them easy teams, but will still have the goal scoring form and will continue to score against a slightly difficult opponent. The same doesn't really translate with defensive form like that. So there's no doubt that Wolves have a really, really decent defence there. And even if you think they won't get battered in the upcoming games, after Brentford they face Arsenal, Spurs, Leicester and West Ham, all of whom are decent attacks, who you would probably bet can score once, or at least once, against Wolves, right? And it only takes one goal to wipe your clean sheet entirely. And unless you can count on, occasional attacking returns, which you can't even count on occasional attacking returns from Wolves attackers, let alone their defenders, it makes going for them kind of a little bit pointless. Wolves defenders, I think, are going to be 1 or 2 point merchants up until around game week 28, where things might start to pick up for them a little bit with some better fixtures. But can you honestly say that you think Wolves have a decent chance of clean sheets in any of these upcoming games? Probably not. And if that's the case, there's probably little point in wasting your very precious transfers bringing in Wolves defenders right now. I mean, maybe it'll be okay for the Brentford game, but after that, I'm not feeling it at all. And our final avoid is Alan Saint-Maximin. Now, as I make this video, ASM is the 5th most transferred in player of the game week, and that is just so crazy to me. I really didn't expect to see that when I was looking at the stats, but at least it makes for a pretty easy avoid for this video, right? So Saint-Maximin is one of those real troll players. He'll score a couple of goals and then he'll follow it up with a bunch of blanks. It's happened, a couple of times already this season. He's a really good player. We know he's a really good player, but particularly since he's listed as a forward, I don't think he's a great pick for the the game of FPL, basically, right? Newcastle just don't really score that many goals, so by buying San Max, you're kind of depending on two unlikely things. Firstly, you're depending on him scoring, scoring a lot of goals, going on a scoring streak, which hasn't happened at all really at during his time at Newcastle. And then you're also depending on Newcastle scoring more goals, which I can't remember happening outside of a time. Wilson has been banging them in. Newcastle are just not a team that score a lot of goals, and you can't expect that to change very magically. So it doesn't really seem like something that's going to pay off, which kind of just makes it feel like a bit of a weird transfer to make at a time where it also feels like we don't have enough free transfers to use as it is. Transfers are so precious right now. We all want to make 2 or 3 transfers every single game week, and yet you're going to use one to bring in San Maximan. Seems kind of a little bit strange to me. And, to make matters worse, Leeds have hardly any players available, which means another postponement is really likely this game week for them. The Newcastle-Leeds game is probably one of the most in-danger games of a cancellation, along with Arsenal and Burnley, that game there. So particularly if you're making this transfer early, you may find yourself seriously disappointed. So, in summary, as always, save your transfers until as late as reasonably possible. Like I just mentioned, there are a couple of games that are at serious risk of postponement, as usual, as we kind of deal with every single game week at this point. But also, as I mentioned earlier, we have a lovely double game week involving Aston Villa and one of Leeds and Burnley as a potential thing that we might find out about very soon. We don't know for sure yet, and we're unlikely to know until closer to the deadline. So save those transfers, wait and see on the Aston Villa situation, because I think they could be the team to focus on this game week. Coutinho, Ramsey, Watkins, Digne, they're all of interest, and that's probably going to directly dictate our transfer plans. So wait to see what the situation is there, because that could change everything really. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Again, we will be back to the normal recording setup soon. I don't know how this is going to look or sound by the time it's edited, so hopefully it's okay. But if you wouldn't mind giving a like on the video and subscribing if you're new around here, that would be absolutely amazing. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. But yeah, normal content schedule this week, as always, guys. We'll do the 100 experts video on Wednesday. We'll do the team selection on Thursday, and I don't think there's going to be a video on Friday because we've got a deadline on Friday, haven't we? The Gameweek23 deadline. So yeah, we'll be streaming on Friday as well, and that will be the content for this week. So yeah, guys, look forward to seeing you on each of those videos. Hopefully you're enjoying what is left of Gameweek22 as well. But aside from that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.